I'm going to try and do something a little bit different for you guys. After a Broncos loss, and I'm not expecting there to be a ton of them, I want to focus on some more positive stuff after we talk about the negatives. So the video that I put out to you guys earlier focused all on the negatives. Well, on today's episode, we're going to focus on three storylines that I believe prove that this Denver Broncos offense is getting better and better and better. Welcome in Broncos country to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. On today's show, Bo being better than we thought. There's some advanced analytics that I want to share with you. The emergence of Troy Franklin as wide receiver 2. And then, of course, J.K. Dobbins. I believe he is starting a hot streak based off of one major key statistic. Before we get in there, I want to say thank you guys for 582 subscribers against the Indianapolis Colts, which is an unbelievable number. We are sitting right around 575 to 600 in each watch party. We only need 305 more subscribers to get to 41,000. So if you could, and you love Denver Broncos content, hit that sub button. It's free. Let's talk Bo. I said in the video that I made not only yesterday, but also earlier this morning, that Bo Nix was far better than we originally thought. And if you just watched the game itself and you didn't do a deep dive into the analytics, the on the surface stats look really good. 73% completion percentage, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had an interception, but it was tipped at the line of scrimmage outside of that one throw, which might not even have been completely his fault. Bo was exceptional. And he threw 30 times. He completed 22% or 22 out of 30 passes, which is exactly what I talked about last week. Keep Bo at 30 attempts or less, because when he does, he's excellent. But let's do a little bit more of a deep dive into the advanced metrics. He only had 2.65 seconds to throw. Anytime you have less than 3 seconds to throw, it's considered a muddy pocket, right? 3 seconds is kind of like the baseline because it's 1, 2, 3-step drop, hit the back foot, make your read, get rid of the ball. That's why all coaches want you to get rid of the ball in less than 3 seconds, because that 3 number is right around the time that the defense gets after you. His aggressiveness percentage. This is basically just how many times did Bo Nix try to fit a ball into a tight window. Well, he only did that 6.7% of the time, which means he's not taking overly aggressive shots. But here's something that you need to know. This is the most important one. His expected completion percentage was 74.0%. Well, Moose, what is expected completion percentage? I'm glad you asked. Using a passer's completion probability, based off of next-gen stats, by the way, on every single play to determine what a passer's completion percentage is expected to be. So every time that Bo Nix drops back and make a throw, all the analysts will come out and say, based off of the data that we're kind of configuring by each pass, we're expecting to see what his expected completion percentage would be if everything went according to plan. So his expected completion percentage was 74%. His actual completion percentage was 73.3, meaning Bo completed nearly all of the passes that he was predicted to make. That's a good sign. That also indicates and is indicative of really good scheming by Sean Payton, meaning all of the incompletions that Bo had were expected incompletions, essentially. Maybe one throw. And my guess is that throw was the interception. Ultimately leading to this point. The Bo that you saw against the Indianapolis Colts is the Bo that you're going to see this year. Comfortable in the pocket, not doing too much, not trying to throw across his body or make highlight throws. He took what the defense gave him. He made the correct read. He got back on his back foot, fired his hips forward, and made his throws on time, on target, on script. If you do that, more often than not, you're going to win the game. And it would have been a nice victory if not for the defense. But like I said, we're going to focus on the positives here. So were you impressed with Bo Nix against the Colts? We're not talking about week 1. We are talking about this last week specifically. The answer is obviously your eye for impressed, because he came out, completely put week 1 behind him, and delivered an on-time, on-target, and really, really good game. Now, before I get into the other two positive takeaways from our game against the Colts. I have to tell you guys about my friends at Ethos. As someone who has kids on the way, or is at least planning the kids on the way, my wife's not pregnant yet, I will say that Ethos is absolutely revolutionizing the insurance industry with a 100% online process that makes it easy to get covered in 10 minutes or less, with at least $23 a month being the most that you would pay. Trust me when I say this, it is the best way to make sure that you can get your life insurance at the top of your priority list. They have no online medical exams. Just answer a few easy questions online. That process, by the way, is completely 100% online and hassle-free, making it easy to get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. You can protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. One more time, your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. I'll have all of that in the comments and description of today's video. Shout out to Ethos. So let's talk about Mr. Troy Franklin, who had his best game as a pro. Easy. It wasn't even close. It was his best game as a professional. 9 touches, 100 yards, 1 touchdown versus the Colts. Now, you don't expect Troy Franklin to come out and sing his own praises, so his quarterback did it for him. Here's what Bo was asked about after the game when it came specifically to Troy Franklin. He said, we've seen that. I've seen that from him as long as I've known him. And he's starting to really do well for this organization. He started to look like his college self again. I'm happy for him. And he always does the work. He's willing to work really hard. He's practicing hard. And he showed up in the game today. We talked all offseason about how Troy Franklin was the biggest turnaround of any Bronco from year 1 to year 2. And it wasn't close. But what specifically was he great at against the Colts? He found soft spots in zone coverage. One specifically, which I'll bleed into here, into that rerouting, was that reroute where he kind of fell on that stop gap or that stop route and then found out that his cornerback had actually kind of cheated more towards midfield, cut back up the sideline, and found that soft spot in zone coverage for that massive gain. Which also leads me into that second point. It was a reroute. It wasn't his exact route. He had a stop like curl route, and then found out after the play broke down, Bo Nix rolls out to his left, he climbs up the sideline. And of course, you saw it all game long. That pre-snap motion allows the creativity for Troy Franklin to succeed. The threat of a jet sweep, the ability to create, have a wheel route up the sideline on a motion play. There's so much that you can do with Troy Franklin's game. We are scratching the surface of the type of player that he can be. And if you look at the Broncos wide receiver depth chart, Marvin Mims had a touchdown. He played better, but not great. Courtland Sutton had a complete fall off from game 1 to game 2. He only had 1 reception for 6 yards. We saw Pat Bryant get a little bit more involved, but Troy Franklin is easily going to climb his way into that wide receiver 2 spot sooner rather than later. I think it's only going to take a couple of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 more weeks. Why? Because he's getting the most air yards. Franklin had a 38.3% air yard share against the Colts, meaning that of all the distance that Bo threw literally in the air from the time it left his hands to the time it was in the hands of his wide receivers, Troy Franklin had 38.3% of that. That's more than a third. So he's easily in the top 3, and I expect that to come up into the top 2 here in just a little bit. But I'll ask you, has Troy Franklin solidified the Broncos wide receiver 2 spot? I think he's well on his way. I don't want to say quite yet. It's a definite yes, but he's definitely climbing the ranks. And if you give me 2 more weeks like that, Troy, you're absolutely wide receiver 2 behind Courtland Sutton. Let's end our episode by talking about J.K. Dobbins. Everybody was talking about, including myself, how the Broncos need to establish the run earlier. Well, the first 3 plays were all run plays from Sean Payton, the first one being a carry for a first down. We knew exactly what Sean Payton was going to do. Run the football. The Colts knew they were going to run the football, as evidenced by how often they stacked the box against J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. They stacked 8 men in the box 35.7% of the snaps against Denver. So a third of the time, or more than a third of the time, they put 8 men in and said, we're going to stop your offensive line from creating holes. It also proves to me that Sean Payton had a good scheme week 2. He wasn't going to do too much like he did against the Titans. He wanted to ensure that Bo Nix was comfortable in the pocket. How do you do that? You establish the run. And it starts with the hog mollies up front. You got to make sure your offensive line is doing his job. And this was easily the better of the 2 games from the offensive line. They didn't allow a single sack. The Broncos rushed for over 100 yards again. So this Broncos offensive line being the most cohesive and has the most continuity, in my opinion, in the entire NFL. All of these guys have worked together for a long period of time. This is the second year that they're rolling out the exact same offensive line. The individual performances, by the way, for both the Broncos offense and the Broncos defense, they're there. Week 1, it was the defense that won you the game. Week 2, the offense got you in a position to win the game. A missed field goal, a bullshit penalty call, and bad defensive play lost you week 2. If you can combine the defense from week 1 and combine the offense from week 2, you're going to win against the Chargers in week 3. A reminder before we take off and get on out of here. We had 582 subs against the Colts, and if you love breakdowns just like these, if you like positive news, if you like negative news, if you like rumors and everything in between, including our watch parties, make sure you join the Broncos Breakdown family and hit that sub button. I am your fearless leader, Mr. Trace Moustakas. Thank you so much for joining me today. As always, mile high salute to you, Broncos country. Be cool.